My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, in the first reading from the prophet Ezekiel, we have the recounting of the people of Israelites who were in exile. They were conquered by the Babylonians. They lost their home, they lost their king, and they lost the temple. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, to have a home, to have a place for worship, and to have a leader, these are important elements in strengthening the community. Although, my dear brothers and sisters, we are within our own country, and many of you who are migrants should be able to empathize with the Israelites. Regardless of where you are, even if the host country is hospitable to you, even though many migrants like to stay in Singapore, you all know very well that is nothing like your own country, like your own home. And so, to be at home means to have a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. And yet it is ironical that we Singaporeans who are supposedly at home and yet are not. Many of us, especially young people, they don't feel at home when they are at home. Why? Because they see their parents fighting, quarreling all the time. They are fighting with their siblings. There is no love. There is no unity at home. And that is why very often young people, they don't want to stay at home, and they go out of their house to look for friends so that they can have a sense of belonging. When you cannot find acceptance and love at home, when you are being judged all the time at home, then of course, that is not the place where you want to belong. We only feel comfortable in a place when we are not judged, when we are loved, when we are accepted unconditionally. This is true everywhere you go in life. And the irony of it all is that if you cannot find love and acceptance at home, then we would think that the church, the Christian community, should offer you that sense of belonging, that you are loved, accepted by Jesus. And yet, I think the tragedy of our churches today is that even when young people come to church, they don't have a sense of belonging. They don't feel they are part of the community. They don't feel belonged. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, if you don't have a sense of belonging, what do? Then we look for a sense of belonging somewhere else. Not only we have lost our home, but many of us, not only without a sense of belonging, because when we begin to go out of our home, we find that we need to have new idols in our life. For those of us who have no love, no relationship, then like the Israelites, we begin to worship idols. Those young people, those of you who are intelligent, those of you who are smart, you work hard, get good grades. Even if people don't love you, at least they will admire you. And you think admiration is loved. We know it's not. That is why today many people, they are always insecure, low self-esteem. No matter how well you do in life, you can never ever be good enough for anyone. These idols that you search for in life to fulfill that emptiness can never truly be found. That's why people who are successful in life, they have all they want. They have money, they have status, they have power, they have glory. You notice their lives remain empty. These are the idols. Because we have no sense of belonging, so we try to find acceptance in other ways. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, for those of us who are not so intelligent, what do? What are their idols? Young people especially, your idols will be your computer, drinking, getting drunk, doing all kinds of things. Why? To quench your loneliness. At least you think that you could be good in something. But those of us who get into all kinds of drinking, gangsterism, wasting our time, we destroy ourselves and we become worst. When that happens, what is the next step? You become angry with God. You stop coming to church because somebody has to be blamed for the situation you are in. Somebody has to be blamed for the sufferings that you are going through, for the failures in life. And of course, if you cannot blame anyone, then God is to be blamed. That is why many young people today, and those of you as well, they don't come to church anymore because they're angry with God. They think that God is the cause of their misery. This God who does not care for them. So you lose your sense of belonging. You lose the place of worship. When you have no home, you have no identity. And I think the worst thing sometimes is that those of us who are struggling along the way, we are looking for good mentors, good leaders. And I tell you honestly today, what is most needed in society are good mentors and good leaders. Young people today, they are disillusioned with their own parents. Parents are supposed to be the model, the mentors of what and how to live their life. But sometimes parents, instead of being mentors, they're the one who cause scandals. They are disappointing to their children. How many of your children can say, I'm proud of daddy, I'm proud of mommy? If your children cannot say that, that means you are not a good mentor. You have become a disgrace to your children. When your children are afraid even to identify you as their parents, you have lost your credibility. And this is true, my dear brothers and sisters, even for us priests, religious, those of you who are in politics, in the office. If we are not good mentors, we cannot gain respect. That's why today, many people so disillusioned with the church, leaders, disillusioned with the world, disillusioned with their parents, disillusioned even with their teachers in school. Because teachers are supposed to be role models. But they don't care either. So you know, my dear brothers and sisters, what is driving people to frustration today is simply this. But the truth is, those of us who are Christian, this should never be the case. Because we know our identity, we know who we are. We are not slaves. Today in the second reading, St. Paul makes it clear. Everyone moved by the Spirit is a son of God. The Spirit received is not the spirit of slaves bringing fear into your lives. It's the spirit of sons that makes you cry, Abba, Father. And who are we? We are nothing less than children of God. And if we are children of God, God is our Father. You cannot say, therefore, we do not know who we are. We have a sense of belonging. We belong to the Father. In the gospel, Jesus makes it clear. If anyone loves me, my Father will love him, and we shall come to him and make our home with him. As Christians, we have a sense of belonging. We belong to God. And because we belong to God, every Christian belongs to each other. That is what the Christian community is all about. We cannot say we don't have a leader. We cannot say we do not know the meaning of life. In the gospel, in the response to the psalm, we say that Jesus is our good shepherd. He is the one who leads us to fullness of life. In Jesus, we know what is life. What is life? Life is to give ourselves in love, in service to God and to our brothers and sisters. To live is to live for others. Anyone who tries to live for himself will never live. As Jesus says, the man who tries to save his life will lose it. The man who gives his life for others will save it. So we cannot say we don't have a leader. Jesus, our good shepherd, he is our leader, the way, the truth, and the life. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, this is what Christianity is all about. This is the essence of our faith. So we are people who are not lost. But, my dear brothers and sisters, the important question I want to ask this morning, especially for the confirmants, is this how you feel? Or is this what you have been taught? If this is just only what you have been taught, but not experienced, then it means you are not ready for the work of mission. The sacrament of confirmation is a sacrament of witnessing. You can't witness to what you have not seen and heard and experienced. If there is an accident outside, and the police comes and asks for witnesses, and you're here attending the service, can you say, I'm a good Christian, I like to be a witness? Police will ask you, have you seen the accident? No, I was here at my son, forget it, don't waste time. A witness is one who sees. That is a witness. You can't give what you have not got. So I'm asking you, therefore, are you ready to be a witness? Can you truly say, therefore, you have a sense of belonging? Jesus is your shepherd. You know how life is meant to be lived authentically. You know, my dear brothers and sisters, the sacrament of confirmation very often has become the sacrament of farewell. This should never be the case, but it is in many places all over the world. That after confirmation, that's the last time we're going to see these so-called confirmants. They will be not, so to speak, coming back to church. Over the years, they will drift away. It's a matter of time. But how could that be? It's an irony. It's a contradiction. Because the sacrament of confirmation is the height of a Christian. From the time these young people were baptized, for 12 years we have been preparing them for this most important day. That's why the bishop has to come. Because the bishop is the one who empowers them to and send them out to evangelize, to witness for Christ, to be an apostle for the Lord. So as the bishop, I sent you forth. But I don't know what kind of soldiers you're going to be. But no well-trained soldiers. If it's not well-trained, I think you will die in the battlefront even before you could go out. Can you survive the test? And how could this be? How could our Catholic formation, for 12 years, we have been forming them, And at the height of their formation, they lose the faith. How strange. It seems the longer they stay in catechesis, the more they lose their faith. This is totally a contradiction. It means a failure. A failure on our part on catechesis. What is catechesis? Catechesis is not just imparting doctrines, knowledge, all these things they can get from the books, from the internet. Catechesis is to form people to be disciples of Jesus, to walk the way of Jesus, to know Jesus, to love Jesus. Catechesis is to help people to encounter Jesus, have a relationship with Him. That is catechesis. And I wonder, our young people, and those of you too, who are already confirmed, do you know Jesus? Is Jesus your shepherd? Does Jesus make a difference in your life? If you have not, then strictly speaking, you should not be confirmed, because you're not ready. The weakness of the Catholic Church is this. Let me tell you. There is no discipleship. A lot of doctrines, yes. A lot of knowledge. No discipleship. That is the reason why the Catholic Church lacks power to evangelize. No discipleship. Discipleship is an ongoing process. It does not stop. I'm still a disciple. Pope Francis says we are missionary disciples. We are not just disciples, we are not missionaries, but missionary disciples. No one can be in mission without being a disciple. Even the Pope is a disciple, because Jesus is our shepherd. But discipleship stops. Even for you adults. The last time you attend was you go for RCA, and that's the end. Where is the discipleship? Where is the mentoring? Where does this take place? And therefore, our young people can go through 12 years of catechesis in terms of knowledge, but they have not seen weaknesses of faith. A teacher, a catechist is not the one who imparts knowledge. A catechist is one who walks the talk. Be Jesus to them. Show them Jesus. Even parents, it's not just teaching the children about the faith. You have to live the faith. Have you shared your prayer life with your children? Have you shared your faith with your children? Have you prayed with your children? If you have not, that is not catechesis. That is not formation. The most important thing we don't share with our children, our own faith, our relationship with the Lord. All we're interested is whether they have studied, whether their grades are good, whether they pass. Hey, how's your O-level result? 7, 8, 6, how many? That's what we're interested. We never ask them, what about your relationship with Jesus? Is it good? Are you happy? That we don't ask. Failure in discipleship. Second reason, failure in community. I tell you, this is really, for me, a sadness. How could a child, 12 years in catechesis, after 12 years, he still does not have a sense of belonging. He does not have good Catholic friends. All his friends are outside the Catholic Church. How could we be body of Christ if we do not know fellow Catholics? If we don't have a sense of belonging in this church? How can our faith grow? Because our faith is dependent on each other. And if 12 years in catechesis and they do not know anyone enough to share their life, to share their faith, for me it's a failure of the community. Because we didn't give them a sense of belonging. Once they finish their confirmation, you go back home. You don't come back anymore. It's just like you go for a movie. After movie, you stay back and talk to people. You go back home. And we are treating the church like a movie. You come here for Sunday Mass. After the movie, sometimes movie very boring even. Then you go back home. But that is not how we grow in our faith. We cannot become these missionaries if we follow this way. So my dear young people, I just want to tell you this. Because we're going to confirm you. I want to tell you, faith is an ongoing process. The end of confirmation classes means no formal catechism. But faith needs to grow every day. Relationship with someone, the moment you stop talking to someone, the relationship dies. Same with Jesus. You need to sustain that faith. Secondly, you need to belong to a community. That's why those of you, after your confirmation, if you have no sense of community, you don't join any church group, any Christian community, your faith will not last. And that's why parents, godparents, you must encourage your children that they must have a sense of belonging to some community. Otherwise, my dear brothers and sisters, we can never be growing in discipleship. And the final word for you, my dear parents, especially, I keep saying the same thing. Give what is most important to your child. What is the greatest gift you can give to your child? It's not education, it's faith. Once he has faith in Jesus, he will study hard. Why? Because he has a meaning, he has a purpose, he has a vocation. Because now he lives for God, he doesn't live for himself. Don't produce children. They can be smart, they can be intelligent, but they live for themselves. They're not even concerned about you. When they grow up, they're going to dump you. They're going to leave you. They're going to migrate. You just stay here, you die here, you get buried here. They might not have time to come and visit you. If you don't give them good spiritual moral formation, what's the use of being successful in the world? They will not be happy as well, I can tell you. A person who has no moral, spiritual values, regardless of how successful in worldly terms they are, they have no happiness. Do you want to give them real happiness? Give them Jesus, and everything will come together.